ER doctors scoffed at a black nurse's advice, their laughter a chain, until she saved a VIP patient's life, her expertise silencing their prejudice with a single, steady hand. Amara Johnson, a 32-year-old black ER nurse in Atlanta, faced mockery from doctors who dismissed her medical insight as inferior. When a VIP patient's life hung in the balance, Amara's quick thinking and skill proved her brilliance, saving the day and exposing their bias. This wasn't just a shift in the ER, it was a radiant stand for resilience, expertise, and justice, forging a legacy that reshaped the hospital and echoed through the city. Before we plunge into this blazing story of healing through hate, drop a comment and tell me where you're tuning in from. If this tale of a black nurse turning scorn into salvation strikes your soul, hit that like button and subscribe to Narratives of Black Struggles for more raw truths about America's racial fight. Your support fuels these stories. Picture an Atlanta hospital ER, where chaos reigns and prejudice prowls. But one nurse is about to face a storm she didn't summon. Amara Johnson, armed with skill and steel, steps into a battle she'd rather not fight, but her truth is ready to pulse through the chaos. Let's dive into the story where the fire ignites. Amara Johnson's sneakers squeaked across the scuffed linoleum of Grady Memorial Hospital's emergency room, the fluorescent lights casting stark, unforgiving shadows on sterile white walls. June 11, 2025. 3 a.m. monitors screeched in jagged rhythms, their alarms a discordant symphony, the air thick with the sharp sting of antiseptic, the acrid sweat of fear, and the metallic tang of blood-soaked urgency. At 32, Amara was a quiet pulse, her braids swept into a tight, practical bun, brown eyes sharp as a diagnostician's gaze slicing through chaos, her navy scrubs crisp despite the night's grind, a silver stethoscope engraved with a lotus. A gift from her mentor, Nurse Clara Evans, draped around her neck like a talisman, its weight a reminder of her mother Loretta's steady him. Heal your truth, Amara. You're forged for this. She was deep into her night shift, her hands steady for sutures, her heart tuned to the relentless rhythm of lives teetering on the edge. But the sting of doctors' laughter was poised to turn the ER into a crucible, testing her resolve and igniting a battle she hadn't chosen, her blackness a mark in a hospital that demanded expertise but not always its bearers. The ER, Grady's beating hard in the raw pulse of downtown Atlanta, thrummed with controlled pandemonium, gurneys rattling like war chariots, nurses shouting vitals over the din, trauma bays flaring with the frenetic dance of life and loss. Amara, a daughter of Mechanicsville's cracked sidewalks, where streetlights flickered over asphalt lots, where church choirs at Zion Hill Baptist poured hope into sweltering summer nights, had been a registered nurse for a decade, her skill sculpted by Clara. A veteran RN whose 40-year career at Grady had guided Amara through the crucible of nursing school at Clark Atlanta University. Her stethoscope, bestowed after her first code blue save at 24, a cardiac arrest patient pulled back from the brink, was her anchor, its lotus engraving a symbol of resilience blooming from chaos, a testament to Clara's fierce whisper. Your hands are your power, Amara. Wield them like a sword. Loretta, a retired seamstress who stitched vibrant quilts in Mechanicsville's modest rowhouses, slept at home, her hands gnarled from years of needlework, her text aflare from hours earlier. Shine, baby. Save lives tonight. Amara's breath steadied, her mother's love her foundation, Mechanicsville's pulse, heart monitors beeping in free clinics, hymns soaring from wooden pews, neighbors sharing meals under sodium streetlights, her rhythm. She navigated Trauma Bay 3, her movements precise as she assessed a car crash victim, a young man with a fractured femur and dropping vitals, her hands swift, for line inserted, oxygen mask secured, chart updated with meticulous notes. The bay was a maelstrom, nurses darting with saline bags, doctors barking orders, monitors flashing red with unstable rhythms. Dr. Gregory Bennett, a white attending physician in his 40s, loomed at the bay's center like a general, his stethoscope glinting under the lights, his scrub cap tight, his voice clipped and commanding. Johnson, what's your call on this guy? Vitals, now. Amara scanned the patient's chart, her eyes catching a subtle anomaly in the EKG, a irregular waveform hinting at something graver than trauma shock. Sir, we need a CT angiogram. Stat, she said, her voice calm, her Atlanta drawl thick and measured, her hands steady as she adjusted the four-drip. The EKG's off, could be an aortic dissection, not just hypovolemia from the crash. Bennett's eyes narrowed, raking over her braids, her stethoscope, her blackness, his lips curling into a sneer that didn't reach his voice, his tone loud enough for the team. Dr. Emily Klein, a white resident, and interns Jake and Sarah to hear. A nurse playing doctor? Huh? Stick to vitals, Johnson. Leave the diagnostics to us. Klein, her clipboard raised like a shield, chuckled, her voice sharp. CT's overkill. Greg's right. It's just trauma shock. Jake, a lanky intern with a nervous grin, snickered, his pen tapping. Yeah, Amara, don't get fancy. Sarah, a quieter intern, joined in, her laugh softer but cutting. Back to basics, nurse. Their laughter was a blade, slicing through the cacophony of beeping monitors and rattling gurneys, the bay's chaos amplifying their scorn. The ER a stage where Amara's expertise was put on trial, the fluorescent lights a jury rendering verdict. Unworthy. Out of place. Amara's heart tightened, a familiar weight pressing like a skip beat in her chest, but she held her ground, her fingers grazing her stethoscope, its lotus warm against her skin, years of shade, patients mistaking her for an aide. Doctors bypassing her for white nurses, cops eyeing her scrubs as she walked home from shifts, stealing her spine. She'd faced this before, patients snarling girl instead of nurse, attendings dismissing her triage calls as overreach, peers at nursing school whispering she only got in for diversity, but her skill, forged in Grady's relentless base, tempered by Clara's rigorous mentorship, rooted in her blackness, was her shield, her stethoscope her anchor. She persisted, her voice steady despite the sting, her eyes locked on Bennett's. Dr. Bennett. The EKG shows ST elevation in V1, V3, and his BP's crashing, 180 over 90 to 90 over 50 in 10 minutes. A CT angiogram could confirm dissection before he codes. Bennett waved her off, his scrub cap shifting, his voice sharp and final. We're not wasting resources on your hunch, nurse. Prep him for exploratory surgery. Stat, trauma's the issue, not your amateur diagnostics. The team laughed louder, Klein's clipboard snapping shut. Surgery's the call, Johnson. Move it. Jake's pen tapped faster, his grin wide. Don't play doctor, Amara. You're out of your depth. Sarah's laugh faded, her eyes flickering with unease, but she stayed silent, the bay's chaos resuming, nurses darting, monitors shrieking, gurneys rolling. Amara's blood simmered, a quiet roar beneath her skin, but she moved to prep the patient, her hands steady, her eyes catching a worsening rhythm on the monitor, pulse ox dropping to 88%, heart rate spiking to 140. The laughter was a chain, Bennett's hunch a coded jab at her blackness, the ER a stage for their bias, the sterile walls reflecting their verdict like a distorted mirror. The ER's rhythm surged, a new patient crashed through the double doors, a state senator, his gurney flanked by security, his vitals critical, the bay erupting with shouts, VIP, trauma one, now. Bennett barked orders, Klein scrambling, interns freezing, the senator's chart flashing red, cardiac arrest, unstable. Amara's crash victim was wheeled to imaging, her CT call quietly ordered by a reluctant Klein, the scan later confirming an aortic dissection, saving him from a fatal misstep, but no acknowledgement came, Bennett's voice muttering, lucky guess. Clara Evans arrived for a consult, her badge glinting, her gray hair a crown, her voice cutting through the din. Amara's calls are gold. Greg, you be wise to listen. Bennett scoffed, his stethoscope swinging. She got lucky, Clara. Nothing more. The senator's crisis loomed, monitors screaming, Amara's inside a spark ready to blaze through the chaos, her hands poised to defy the laughter that sought to chain her. The ER's bays pulsed, trauma patients flooding, nurses triaging, doctors clashing, but Amara's focus narrowed, her stethoscope warm, her mind racing with differentials. She glanced at the senator's monitor, her eyes catching a rare arrhythmia, her heart thumping with a truth she couldn't yet prove. Mechanicsville stirred beyond the hospital's walls, Zion Hill's choir praying, Ms. Ruth spreading news, Amara saving lives. Loretta's quilts hung in her home, her love a fire, Nia, Amara's sister, planning a vigil. My sister's a hero. The ER was Amara's crucible, a stage where grit clashed with privilege, Bennett's laughter a chain she'd break, their legacy a fading echo against her rising fire. She checked the crash victim's chart, her call validated, her resolve iron, her truth a pulse ready to blaze through Grady's halls and beyond. A memory flickered, Mechanicsville, 2013, Amara 22, saving her first patient in a code blue, Clara's voice fierce. Your hands are your power, Amara, wield them like a sword. Loretta's hands, gnarled from quilting, had funded her scrubs, her night shifts at a textile factory fueling Amara's nursing school, her love a fire that burned through doubt. Her voice had trembled then. You're my healer, baby. That vow heal, no shade, a legacy kindled in Amara's heart, a spark born in Mechanicsville's soul, where heart monitors beeped in free clinics, choirs sang of redemption, and neighbors shared meals under sodium streetlights. The Grady ER was Amara's crucible, Bennett's scorn a fleeting ash, her fight a fire ready to blaze through Atlanta's healthcare and beyond, her truth a pulse soaring through the chaos, her care a chainbreaker for every healer dreaming on cracked asphalt. The emergency room at Grady Memorial Hospital pulsed under the stark fluorescence of dawn's first light. June 11, 2025, 5 a.m., hours after Amara Johnson's prescient call on a car crash victim's aortic dissection, CT angiogram, stat, proved life-saving, silencing Dr. Gregory Bennett's mocking laughter. A nurse playing doctor? Yet their scorn lingered like a chain she'd begun to unravel with the steady rhythm of her hands. Amara stood at Trauma Bay 1, her navy scrubs damp with sweat, braids locked in a tight bun, brown eyes fierce like a heart monitor's unwavering pulse, her silver stethoscope. Nurse Clara Evans Lotus, draped around her neck, its weight a quiet vow against the shade. At 32, she was a pulse, her hands weaving care through the chaos, her heart beating with a resilience honed by a decade in the trenches. Bennett's dismissal, stick to vitals, nurse, a venomous echo, but her skill was a flame, poised to blaze through a VIP patient's crisis, turning scorn into a stand that would light the hospital's soul and echo through Atlanta's streets. The ER was a crucible, its linoleum scarred by countless gurneys, monitors shrieking like banshees, the air thick with the sharp sting of antiseptic, the acrid sweat of desperation, and the metallic tang of blood-soaked gauze. Gurneys clattered like war drums. Nurses shouted vitals over the din. Trauma bays flared with the frenetic dance of life and death. Amara, a daughter of Mechanicsville's cracked sidewalks, where streetlights flickered over asphalt lots, where gospel choirs at Zion Hill Baptist poured hope into sweltering nights, assessed a gunshot victim in Bay 2, her hands swift and precise, tourniquet applied, for line secured, chest tube prepped for a pneumothorax. Her stethoscope, bestowed after her first code blue save, was her anchor, its lotus a symbol of resilience blooming from chaos, a testament to Clara's fierce whisper, "Your hands are your rebellion, Amara. Let them roar." Loretta's text flared across her phone, sent from her Mechanicsville home. "You okay, baby? Keep saving lives." Clara's email pinged from her office, her words sharp. "Your CT call was gold, Amara. Don't let their shade dim you." Amara's breath steadied, her mother's love her foundation, Mechanicsville's pulse, heart monitors beeping in free clinics, hymns soaring from pews, neighbors sharing meals under sodium streetlights, her rhythm. She stabilized the gunshot victim, her chart notes meticulous, her eyes scanning the monitor, pulse ox climbing to 94%, BP holding at 110/70. But the ER's chaos surged, pulling her to Trauma Bay 1, where the state senator, a VIP patient, lay critical, his gurney flanked by security, his monitors screaming, heart rate 180, BP crashing to 80/40, oxygen sats at 85%. The bay was a maelstrom, Dr. Bennett barking orders, Dr. Emily Klein scrambling with a crash cart, interns Jake and Sarah fumbling with 4 bags, security shouting for updates. Bennett loomed over the senator, his scrub cap askew, his voice clipped. "Johnson, what's your read? Vitals now?" Amara scanned the chart, her eyes catching a rare arrhythmia, torsades de points, a deadly rhythm masked by the chaos. "Sir, it's torsades, not V-Tach," she said, her voice calm, Atlanta drawl thick, her hands adjusting the defibrillator pads. "We need amiodarone, 150 milligrams for push, stat, and magnesium sulfate, not lidocaine." Bennett's eyes narrowed, raking her braids, her stethoscope, her blackness, his lips curling into a sneer. "Nurse, quiet. You're not a cardiologist. Lidocaine now." Klein chuckled, her crash cart rattling. "Stick to your lane. Amara, Greg's got this." Jake snickered, his pen tapping. "Torsades? She's reaching." Sarah's laugh was softer, her eyes uneasy, their laughter a blade slicing through the monitor's shrieks, the bay's chaos amplifying their scorn. Amara's heart thundered, a skipped beat in her chest, but she held her ground, her fingers grazing her stethoscope, its lotus warm, years of shade. Patients mistaking her for an aide. Doctors dismissing her triage calls. Cops eyeing her scrubs as she walked home, stealing her resolve. Dr. Bennett, lidocaine could worsen torsades. Amiodaron's the standard, and magnesium stabilizes the rhythm. He's coding. We've got seconds. Bennett waved her off, his voice sharp. Prep lidocaine. Johnson, or get out of my bay. Klein's clipboard snapped shut. Move it. Nurse, we don't need your textbook nonsense. Jake's pen tapped faster. Back to basics, Amara. Sarah hesitated, her eyes flickering, but stayed silent, the bay's chaos resuming. Security shouting, monitors alarming, gurneys rolling. Amara's blood simmered, but she moved to the crash cart, her hands steady, her eyes catching the senator's monitor. QRS widening, rhythm spiraling, death seconds away. The laughter was a chain, Bennett's textbook, a jab at her blackness. The ER a stage for their bias, the sterile walls reflecting their verdict like a distorted mirror. The bay's rhythm surged. Another trauma case flooded in, nurses triaging, doctors clashing, but Amara's focus narrowed, her stethoscope warm, her mind racing with differentials. Clara Evans pushed through the bay's curtain, her badge glinting, her gray hair a crown, her voice slicing through the din. Amara's right, Greg. Torsades needs amiodaron, not lidocaine. Listen, or you'll lose him. Bennett scoffed, his scrub cap shifting. She got lucky on that CT call. Clara, nothing more. Klein muttered. Nurse drama, wasting time. Jake's snicker faded, Sarah's eyes widened. The senator's monitor flatlining. Code blue, alarms piercing. Amara acted, her hands seizing the amiodaron vial, her voice sharp. I'm pushing 150 milligrams now. She administered the drug, her 4-push steady, magnesium sulfate following, the senator's rhythm stabilizing, QRS narrowing, pulse ox climbing to 92%, BP rising to 100/60. The bay froze, Bennett's face draining to chalk, Klein's laughter dying, Jake's pen still, Sarah's eyes wide, security exhaling. Clara's nod was fierce. That's my Amara, saving lives. The ER's chaos resumed. Gurneys rolling, monitors beeping, but Amara's heart thundered, her stethoscope a pulse, her skill a rebellion against their shade. Nia's ex-post exploded, her live stream from the waiting room hitting 15 million views. My sister Amara saved the senator. They laughed at her. Hashtag ER bias. Comments roared. Black genius. Bennett's done. Mechanicsville stirred. Zion Hill praying. Ms. Ruth spreading news. Amara's our hero. Loretta's quilts hung at home. Her love a fire, Nia's vigil planned. My sister's a queen. The ER was Amara's crucible. Bennett's scorn a chain she'd break. Their legacy a fading echo against her rising fire. She charted the senator's recovery, her notes precise, her resolve iron, her truth a pulse ready to blaze through Grady's halls and beyond. A memory surged. Mechanicsville, 2015, Amara 24, running her first code blue, Clara's voice proud. Your hands are your rebellion. Amara, let them roar. Loretta's hands, gnarled from quilting, had funded her degree, her love of fire. That vow, heal, no shade, a legacy, shone bright, a pulse kindled in Mechanicsville's rhythm, where streetlights flickered, choirs sang, and neighbors dreamed under humid skies. The Grady ER was Amara's crucible, Bennett's scorn ash, her fight ablaze ready to light Atlanta's healthcare and beyond, her truth a pulse soaring through chaos, her care a chainbreaker for every healer dreaming on cracked asphalt. The emergency room at Grady Memorial Hospital thrummed under the pale gray of dawn's creeping light. June 11th, 2025, 7 a.m., 2 hours after Amara Johnson's life-saving amiodaron push stabilized a state senator's torsades to points, her decisive call. It's torsades, not VTACH, silencing Dr. Gregory Bennett's mocking laughter. Nurse, quiet, her skill a flame that seared through their prejudice and steadied the ER's frantic pulse. Amara stood at a charting station, her navy scrubs stained with sweat and betadine, braids locked in a tight bun, brown eyes blazing like a Mechanicsville sunrise, her silver stethoscope, Clara Evans Lotus, draped around her neck, its weight a quiet oath of her resolve. At 32, she was a stand, her hands steady as she documented the senator's recovery, her heart a drumbeat for justice amid the chaos. Bennett's lingering shade. Luck, not skill, just a fluke. A venomous whisper, but her expertise was ablaze, her leadership poised to reshape the hospital and kindle hope across Atlanta's healthcare landscape. The ER was a crucible, its linoleum scoured by countless gurneys, monitors beeping in relentless cadence, the air thick with the sharp sting of antiseptic, the acrid sweat of exhaustion, and the faint metallic tang of blood-soaked bandages. Nurses darted between bays, their sneakers squeaking. Doctors clashed over treatment plans. Trauma rooms flared with the frenetic dance of life and death, the double doors slamming as ambulances unloaded fresh waves of pain. Amara, a daughter of Mechanicsville's cracked sidewalks, where streetlights flickered over asphalt lots, where gospel choirs at Zion Hill Baptist poured hope into sweltering summer nights, charted the senator's vitals with meticulous precision, pulse ox 95%, BP 120/80, heart rate 72, rhythm sinus. Her notes a testament to her skill, her hands steady despite the night's grind. Her stethoscope, bestowed after her first code blue save, was her anchor, its lotus a symbol of resilience blooming from chaos, a reminder of Clara's fierce whisper, "Your hands are your legacy, Amara. Let them stand tall." Loretta sat in the waiting room, her hands gnarled from years of quilting, her crimson scarf bright, her text aflare, "You're my star, baby, always." Clara Evans lingered in the ER, her badge glinting, her gray hair a crown, her voice sharp. "Lead, Amara." Rewrite their script. Amara finished charting, her eyes scanning the bay. Trauma 2 with a stroke patient, Bay 4 with a pediatric asthma case, monitors flashing, nurses shouting vitals. But Bennett approached, his scrub cap off, his stethoscope swinging, his voice clipped and cold. "Johnson, your immunoron call was a fluke, not expertise. Don't get cocky. You're still just a nurse." Dr. Emily Klein, trailing him, muttered, her clipboard raised. "Overrated. Greg's right. She got lucky." Intern Jake hovered, his pen tapping nervously, his earlier snicker gone. "It worked, though, didn't it?" Sarah, the quieter intern, stayed silent, her eyes flickering with unease, her respect for Amara growing but unspoken. The team's laughter had faded, but their shade lingered, a chain tightening around Amara's resolve, their bias a fog clouding their vision, the ER a stage where her expertise was still on trial, the sterile walls reflecting their verdict like a distorted mirror. Amara's heart burned, a skipped beat in her chest, but she stood tall, her stethoscope warm, years of shade, patient's snarling girl instead of nurse, attendings dismissing her calls as overreach, peers whispering she only got hired for diversity, stealing her spine. She met Bennett's eyes, her voice steady, Atlanta drawl thick. "Dr. Bennett, the senator's alive because of immunoron, not lidocaine. I read the rhythm. I made the call. It wasn't luck, it was training." Bennett's jaw twitched, his voice sharp. "Don't lecture me, nurse. You're here to follow orders, not play hero." Klein's clipboard snapped shut. "Stay in your lane. Amara, we don't need your drama." Jake's pen paused, his eyes darting, Sarah's silence heavy, the bay's chaos surging, monitors alarming, gurneys rolling, nurses shouting, but Amara's focus held, her hands steady, her mind racing with the next patient's needs. The ER's rhythm pulsed, a new crisis looming, a flu outbreak flooding beds, patients spilling into hallways, triage stretched thin, the hospital teetering on collapse. Amara stepped up, her voice a quiet command. "I'll lead triage in Bay 5. We need to prioritize respiratory cases." Bennett scoffed, his scrub cap in hand. "Triage? You're not in charge, Johnson." Clara pushed through, her badge glinting, her voice fierce. "She's your best shot, Greg. Amara's lead code's tougher than this. Let her stand." Amara organized triage, her protocols sharp. Oxygen for asthmatics, antivirals for flu, isolation for suspected sepsis, her hands directing nurses, her eyes scanning monitors, her leadership iron amid the storm. She mentored Jake and Sarah, her voice calm. "Jake, check O2 sats every 10 minutes. Sarah, prioritize fever over 103. Jake nodded, his pen still, his respect growing. "Got it, Amara." Sarah's eyes softened, her voice low. "You're amazing, Nurse Johnson." The flu cases stabilized, beds cleared, lives saved. Amara's triage a lifeline. Lisa Tran, Grady's CEO, a black woman with a steely gaze, observed from the control room, her voice sharp over the intercom. Amara's our anchor, team. Follow her lead. Bennett's face soured, his stethoscope limp. Klein's mutters silenced, their shade a fading echo, the ER's chaos bending to Amara's will. The senator's family arrived, their gratitude flooding the waiting room, their voices loud. Nurse Johnson saved him. Nia's ex-post exploded, her live stream hitting 30 million views. My sister Amara standing tall, they laughed at her. Hashtag ER bias. Comments roared, Black hero. Bennett's out. Mechanicsville surged, Zion Hills choir praying. Ms. Ruth spreading news at the corner store. Amara's our queen. Loretta's quilts hung at home, her love a fire, Nia's vigil growing. My sister's a warrior. The ER was Amara's crucible, a stage where grit outshone privilege. Bennett's scorn a chain she'd break, their legacy a fading echo against her rising fire. She checked a pediatric patient, her hands gentle, her resolve iron, her truth a stand ready to blaze through Grady's halls and beyond. A memory surged, Mechanicsville, 2018, Amara 26, leading a mass casualty drill, Clara's voice proud. Your hands are your legacy, Amara, let them stand tall. Loretta's hands, scarred from quilting, held her scrubs, her love of fire. That vow, heal, no shade, a legacy, shone bright, a stand kindled in Mechanicsville's rhythm, where streetlights flickered, choirs sang, and neighbors dreamed under humid skies. The Grady ER was Amara's crucible, Bennett's scorn ash, her fight ablaze ready to light Atlanta's healthcare and beyond, her truth a pulse soaring through chaos. The staff lounge at Grady Memorial Hospital glowed under the soft, filtered light of noon. June 12, 2025, a day after Amara Johnson's life-saving Immunoron push for a state senator and her triage leadership through a flu outbreak turned Dr. Gregory Bennett's mocking laughter, she's no hero, into a radiant triumph, her expertise a flame that redefined the ER's heartbeat and steadied its chaotic soul. Amara stood by a whiteboard, her navy scrubs fresh after a quick change, braids locked in a tight bun, brown eyes blazing like a Mechanicsville noon, her silver stethoscope, Clara Evans Lotus, draped around her neck, its weight a quiet oath of her ascent. At 32, she was healing, her hands guiding a training session for interns, her heart racing for hospital reform, Bennett's lingering shade. Overhyped, a fluke, reduced to ash, her skill a fire, her leadership a legacy poised to blaze through Grady's halls, reshape Atlanta's healthcare, and kindle hope for countless lives. The lounge was a haven amid the ER's storm, its worn lockers clanging softly, a coffee maker gurgling, the air thick with the faint scent of burnt toast, the tang of disinfectant lingering from the halls, and the warm hum of camaraderie among nurses catching a rare break. Bulletin boards sagged with shift schedules and union flyers, a small TV muted with news of the senator's recovery, the Atlanta skyline visible through a narrow window, Centennial Olympic Park spires piercing the humid haze. Amara, a daughter of Mechanicsville's cracked sidewalks, where streetlights flickered over asphalt lots, where gospel choirs at Zion Hill Baptist poured hope into sweltering nights, led a training on bias-free triage protocols, her whiteboard scrawled with flowcharts, her voice calm, Atlanta drawl thick. Check vitals first, not assumptions. Race, class, or status don't dictate care. Her stethoscope, bestowed after her first Code Blue save, was her anchor, its lotus a symbol of resilience blooming from chaos, a testament to Clara's fierce whisper, your hands are your revolution, Amara. Let them heal. Loretta visited the lounge, her crimson scarf bright, her hands gnarled from quilting, her text aflare, you're unstoppable, baby, my queen. Clara sat nearby, her badge glinting, her gray hair a crown, her nod fierce. Lead, Amara. Rewrite their world. Amara's training drew a dozen interns, Jake, Sarah, and others, their notebooks open, their eyes mixed with respect and curiosity, a shift from their earlier snickers. Dr. Bennett hovered at the door, his scrub cap off, his stethoscope limp, his voice clipped. Johnson, This bias training's a waste. Your senator save was overhyped, a one-off. Dr. Emily Klein lingered behind him, her clipboard raised, her mutter low. Lucky break. Nothing more. Jake shifted, his pen pausing, his voice tentative. Her triage saved us yesterday, Dr. Bennett. Sarah nodded, her eyes steady. Amara's protocols worked, I saw it. The intern's respect grew, but Bennett's shade lingered, a chain tightening around Amara's resolve. Their bias a fog clouding their vision. The lounge a stage where her leadership was still on trial. The worn linoleum reflecting their verdict like a distorted mirror. Amara's heart surged, a steady beat in her chest, but she stood tall, her stethoscope warm. Years of shade. Patients snarling girl instead of nurse. Attendings dismissing her calls. Peers whispering, she only got promoted for diversity, stealing her spine. She met Bennett's eyes, her voice steady, Atlanta drawl thick. Dr. Bennett, bias kills. My protocols prioritize vitals over assumptions, like with the senator's torsades. Train for it, or we lose more. Bennett's jaw twitched, his voice sharp. Don't lecture me. Nurse, you're not running this ER. Klein's clipboard snapped shut. Stick to your lane. Amara, we don't need your soapbox. Jake's pen paused, his eyes darting, Sarah's silence heavy, the lounge's rhythm pulsing. Lockers clanging, coffee dripping, but Amara's focus held, her whiteboard marker tracing a triage flowchart, her voice a quiet command. Jake, practice SPO2 checks. Sarah, review fever thresholds. Jake nodded, his voice soft. Got it. Nurse Johnson, you're the best. Sarah smiled, her notebook scrawled. Thanks, Amara, you're changing us. The lounge's air shifted, the intern's respect a spark, Bennett's scorn a fading echo. A new crisis loomed beyond the lounge, a sepsis outbreak spiking, beds overflowing, patients coding in hallways, the ER teetering on collapse. Amara led a response team, her protocols sharp, early antibiotics, fluid resuscitation, lactate monitoring, her hands directing nurses, her eyes scanning monitors, her leadership iron. She mentored Malik Jones, a new black attending, her voice calm. Malik, prioritize lactate over 4. We catch sepsis early, we save them. Malik nodded, his stethoscope glinting. You're a legend, Amara. The sepsis cases stabilized, 30 lives saved, Amara's protocol's a lifeline. Lisa Tran, Grady's CEO, arrived, her voice sharp. Amara's our anchor. Promote her to charge nurse now. Bennett's face soured, his demotion to desk duty looming. Klein's mutters silenced. Jake and Sarah inspired, their notebooks filled with Amara's protocols. Nia's ex-post hit 100 million views. Amara's healing Grady. They laughed at her. Hashtag ER bias. Comments roared. Black Queen. Bennett's out. Mechanicsville surged. Zion Hill praying. Ms. Ruth hosting vigils. Amara's our hero. Loretta led health fairs. Her colleagues funding clinics. Clara's crew mentored nurses. Nia's platform grew. The community, a furnace forging hope. Amara's healing was grueling. Shifts, battles, shades, echoes. But her care, her stethoscope, her blackness were her crown, forged in Mechanicsville's heart, where monitors hummed and redemption burned. A memory bloomed. Mechanicsville, 2020, Amara 27. Leading a COVID surge, Clara's voice fierce. Your hands are your revolution. Amara, let them heal. Loretta's hands, scarred from quilting, held her mask, her love afire. That vow, heal, no shade, a legacy, shone bright. A healing kindled in Mechanicsville's rhythm, where streetlights flickered, choirs sang, and neighbors dreamed under humid skies. The Grady Lounge was Amara's crucible, Bennett's scorn ash, her fight ablaze ready to light Atlanta's healthcare and beyond, her truth a pulse soaring through chaos. The grand auditorium of Atlanta's Morehouse School of Medicine shimmered under the golden blaze of October's evening lights. October 15, 2025, for months after Amara Johnson's life-saving intervention for a state senator crowned her as a beacon in Grady Memorial Hospital's ER, her once-mocked expertise a flame that burned through Dr. Gregory Bennett's scorn. A nurse playing doctor? And illuminated Atlanta's healthcare landscape with unyielding brilliance. Amara stood at a podium, her navy blazer sharp against the hum of 1,000 screens, braids swept into a high bun, brown eyes blazing like a Mechanicsville star, her silver stethoscope. Nurse Clara Evans Lotus, draped around her neck like a quiet vow of triumph. At 32, she was a legacy, her keynote at the Atlanta Healthcare Summit unfolding before 8,000 souls. Nurses, doctors, students, Mechanicsville elders, hospital leaders, global health advocates. Her heart soaring for her city and beyond. Her mother Loretta's voice a steady hymn. Heal your truth, Amara. You're forged for this. Bennett's shade was ash, Amara's expertise a crown. Her stand a movement that reshaped Grady's halls, ignited a healthcare revolution, and stood eternal, a fire that would light generations. The auditorium was a kingdom, its tiered seats a vibrant mosaic. Nursing students from Clark Atlanta University clutching tablets, doctors from Emory in white coats, elders from Zion Hill Baptist with hands clasped in prayer, executives from the CDC and who scribbling notes, their screens glowing like constellations, the air thick with cheers, the faint pulse of a gospel choir fading from a pre-summit reception, the stage a polished altar under sweeping LED beams. Massive screens flanked Amara, replaying Grady's transformation. Patient outcomes up 30%, bias complaints down 50%. Amara's protocols adopted globally, while Atlanta's skyline shimmered beyond the glass. The Fox Theater's marquee glinting like a beacon, a city pulsing with dreams both gritty and grand. Amara, a daughter of Mechanicsville's cracked sidewalks, where streetlights flickered over community lots, where gospel hymns burned through humid nights, had turned her ER shifts into a revolution, her protocols saving thousands, her leadership as charge nurse forging equity in care, her advocacy sparking hospital reforms. Her stethoscope, bestowed after her first Code Blue save, was her anchor, its lotus a symbol of resilience rising from chaos, a testament to Clara's fierce whisper, "Your hands are your power, Amara. Let them rain." Loretta sat front row, her crimson dress radiant, her eyes glistening like dew on Georgia peaches, her hands no longer stitching quilts but raised in pride, her text aflare, "You're my queen, baby, always." Clara Evans, her mentor, leaned beside her, her badge glinting, her gray hair a crown, her voice fierce. "Amara, you're our legacy, our mirror." Nia Johnson, Amara's 26-year-old sister and a Clark Atlanta social work grad, filmed for X, her own advocacy platform for healthcare equity scaling rapidly, her voice sharp. "My sister saved a senator, y'all." They laughed at her in the ER. Her live stream hit 200 million views, the hashtag ERBias trending globally. Amara's legacy rises, Bennett falls. Comments erupted like wildfire. Black Queen. Grady's hero. Bennett was absent, demoted to a desk role after an investigation into bias. Emails revealing his dismissal of Amara's expertise, his favoritism toward Dr. Emily Klein, stripped him of ER duties. Klein sat in the back, her white coat folded, her eyes flickering with reluctant respect, her own protocols now refined under Amara's training. Interns Jake and Sarah, once Bennett's allies, stood in the crowd, their applause genuine, their skills honed by Amara's mentorship. Amara's ER team, nurses, techs, Dr. Malik Jones, a new attending who championed her, stood stage-side, their trust a shield forged in her leadership, a testament to Grady's diverse pulse. Amara stepped to the mic, her stethoscope a pulse against her chest, her voice steady, Atlanta drawl thick and unbowed. "This crown isn't mine. It's Mechanicsville's, Atlanta's, every nurse they chain with scorn, every healer they tell can't lead. Heal your truth, and no shade can dim your light." The hall surged, its roars shaking the rafters, students raising tablets like torches, elders like Ms. Ruth, a Zion Hill stalwart, weeping. "Amara's our star, our pride." Nia's X Live hit 300 million views. "Amara's our queen, Atlanta's healthcare crown." Hashtag ERBias. Her keynote wove a tapestry of her journey. Grady's chaotic bays, Clara's wisdom, Bennett's laughter, the senator's salvation, her protocols saving thousands, her words a poem of justice. Nursing is power, a language to rewrite who heals, who leads, who saves tomorrow. "Atlanta, you're my pulse, my fire, my home." The audience leaped, their cheers a gospel choir. nurses chanting, doctors nodding. The hall a crucible where legacy burned eternal. Amara's crown a beacon forged in Mechanicsville's heart, where streetlights flickered and redemption sang. The summit was a supernova. Panels on healthcare equity, training for bias-free care, $50 million in grants for Black nurses, all sparked by Amara's rise. She launched the Johnson Care Academy in Mechanicsville, funded by her Summit Honorarium and Grady bonuses, teaching kids on the same cracked lots where she dreamed, her voice fierce. Care your truth, y'all. No shade can stop your light. The Academy, free nursing boot camps, labs, scholarships to Clark Atlanta. Emory lit the neighborhood like a constellation. Kids like little Tasha, 12, practicing vitals, her eyes wide. I want to be like Nurse Amara. Zion Hill hosted healthcare vigils. Ms. Ruth's cane tapping a rhythm of hope. Amara's our hope, our future. Loretta led community health fairs, her hands no longer stitching but lifting stethoscopes for kids, her colleagues from Mechanicsville funding clinics, their faith afire. Clara's retired RN crew taught classes. Nia's platform scaled to 1 million users, her advocacy connecting Black nurses globally, her voice fierce. Amara's my blueprint, y'all. Grady soared. Patient mortality down 20%, equity metrics leading nationally. Amara's protocols adopted by 100 hospitals, her role as charge nurse shaping policy, earning her an American Nurses Association award. She keynote for WHO, TED, her voice amplified. Care for justice, for community, for us. Bennett faded, his desk role a shadow, his bias a relic. Klein joined Amara's team, her voice soft. Amara, you made me better. Jake and Sarah mentored students. Malik led ER reforms, their legacy tied to Amara's crown. X trended. Amara crowns Atlanta healthcare. Hashtag ER bias. Her protocols, now a global standard, saved millions. Her care a shield, her leadership a star. Mechanicsville glowed. Health clinics in churches, fairs on lots, kids dreaming under streetlights, their stethoscopes borrowed, their care blazing. Loretta's fairs grew, uniting Atlanta's healthcare with its grit, her voice radiant. My daughter built a world. Clara's crew trained nurses. Nia's platform launched a fund for Black RNs. Ms. Ruth's vigils swelled with choirs. Atlanta's jazz clubs pulsed with Grady fundraisers, their saxophone notes a tribute to Amara's fire. The legacy was grueling. Sleepless shifts, policy battles, shades echoes. But Amara's care, her stethoscope, her Blackness were her crown, forged in Mechanicsville's heart, where monitors hummed and redemption burned eternal. She walked the Innovation Hub that evening, Grady's new training center, funded by her advocacy, its halls alive with nurses, Mechanicsville youth practicing codes beside Emory grads. Loretta joined her, her dress swaying, her voice soft. You did it, baby. You heal the world. Clara followed, her eyes fierce. This is your kingdom, Amara, a legacy for healers. Nia filmed, her platform streaming. This is us, y'all. Amara's heart swelled, her stethoscope a pulse, her care a fire that outshone scorn, her legacy a chainbreaker for every nurse healing in the dark. A memory flared. Mechanicsville, 2022, Amara 29, leading a mass casualty drill, Clara's voice fierce. Your hands are your legacy, Amara. Let them rain. Loretta's hands, scarred from quilting, held her scrubs, her love a fire. Mechanicsville's cheers a gospel swell. That vow, heal, no shade, a legacy, shone eternal, a star kindled in Atlanta's rhythm, where streetlights flickered, choirs sang, and elders like Ms. Ruth spun tales of survival. The Morehouse Auditorium was Amara's kingdom, Bennett's scorn ash, her fight a constellation lighting the world, her truth a pulse soaring through chaos, her care a chainbreaker for every healer dreaming on cracked asphalt. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who needs to know what true strength looks like. Join us at Narratives of Black Struggles for more stories that ignite resilience and demand justice.